Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 38. Today we have Will Roobottom, who you may or may not know as Cowley Hill Farm with Will on YouTube, which is very hard to get my tongue around for some reason. Will, if you want to say hello to everyone there.
Hello, how is everyone?
Everyone, I'm just going to pretend I'm everyone. Everyone is well, because I cannot hear their voices at the minute because they are listening later on.
Before we get on into another excellent episode of the R2Kast, I would just like to thank the sponsor for the show today, The Scottish Farmer, a weekly magazine highlighting everything you need to know regarding the Scottish agricultural industry, whether it's breaking news, events happening in the sector, market reports, classified ads, or just wholesome stories happening in the industry. The Scottish Farmer's got it for you.
I think we've had a few good backgrounds on in our time. Mine is pretty boring, given there's a mirror there that looks at that white bit of wall. So it's pretty boring. Funky Farmer, number 17, I think Richard has a really cool background in his kitchen. Well, we got a gorgeous painting, I believe, in the back.
Oh yeah, it's I'm at my grandparents' house because we're lambing, and they've got a very nice painting of some Shire horses in the background.
It's a nice one. It's a good one. And yeah, I mean, I always quite like to look at folks' background and stuff. And with these Zoom calls, it was actually quite fun at the start of COVID, seeing people's houses and stuff like that. And at this stage, you're just like, yep, it's a house. I don't care. But I did think it was quite nice. Yeah, well, and I have known each other for probably the best part of 6 months now. We have a little farm creators chat. There's a few of us, I think 6 or 7 of us involved. That we just chat on WhatsApp and give each other ideas. And one of them's Cammy, and he's always just telling you about how he's got like 4 million views. And we're like, right, okay, what camera do you use? That's all we need to hear about. Will's one of them and is moving into the YouTube lifestyle, which we will get into. But Will, could you tell us a bit about your sort of background in farming? Was your family in farming? And yeah.
So basically, I'm from a family farm. I'm 25 and I'm in the middle of Staffordshire, so near Lichfield, for anyone that knows that. The farm at home is roughly about 500 acres. We rent roughly 2/3 that and own 1/3. And predominantly at home, we actually produce hay and haylage for the equine world. So about 25 years ago, we actually used to be a dairy farm when my dad and granddad were farming back then. And then they've moved into the equine world. My dad went off to college. He actually found out about haylage, and we were one of the first people in the UK that actually started wrapping bales of haylage. So we kind of trialed that kind of stuff, and we've stuck with it since then. And then when I was about 16, I decided I wanted to go to ag college, and I fell in love with sheep. We've never had really any livestock on the farm, apart from the dairy 25 years ago. So from then, I've developed my own flock of clean sheep, and then went to Bishop Burton College. That's when I was, 16, 17 years old. And then went on to Harper Adams University, got a degree in agriculture with farm business management. And then I came back home. I worked part-time at home and then part-time for a company called DataMars, which also most people might know as like KiwiKit and Roxanne tags. That's a brief overview of how I come out. But actually, originally, when I was at home, I wasn't into farming. When I was like between the years of like 12, 15, I was at a school in the town. It wasn't too cool to be a farmer, and I kind of fell out of love with it. I wanted to be an accountant, believe it or not. That isn't the most fun job in the world. But yeah, after that, I decided one summer I wanted to earn some money. So I came back onto the farm. Dad has a few chickens, so I did them. And then I learned how to drive a tractor and the load all, and then kind of fell back in love with it. So when I was really little, I used to sit on the tractor with Dad, came back, and then kind of fell back in love with it. So I haven't always actually loved the farming life, but ever since then, I've just loved it and just gone strength to strength and kind of taught myself all I can about the livestock sector, because we've never really been involved with that.
Yeah, and it's to be honest, I wasn't over involved at that similar age.
Yeah.
Now you could say I'm not a farmer these days, which is absolutely true, but certainly in the industry. But I was bored of it for a while, and that it wasn't cool to be a farmer thing is probably true. That is a sort of thing that's there, which is a shame. And I think where I was, that wasn't the case. It was very rural.
Yeah.
But it is a feeling that's definitely there. Now, to say it's not cool to be a farmer and what to do accountancies.
I know. I was just good at maths and thought it'd be easy.
In fairness, so through the exact same thought process, the only thing I can do at school is maths. Let's go into maths. How can I just add for people for the rest of my life? The hay and haylage one's interesting, isn't it? I mean, when we think of farms, we think of growing crops in the sense of cereals or veg or whatever, or growing livestock. And normally what happens is the places that rear livestock have their own grass or they buy it. It's weird to be, not weird, that's not, what I mean is different. To be focused on that single enterprise. How did, you said it was your dad that made that decision. How did that come about?
So he was at college. I think they got taught a lecture back then, which would be, I don't know how many years ago, but before I was born. So getting on for 25, 30 years ago. And he just thought, why don't we try it? Because not many people did it back then. Most people just clamped silage. Haylage wasn't really a thing back then. And he's just grown it because obviously the equine world are after products. And especially back then, it was basically hay and they soaked it. Where now haylage has come along and it's kind of a product which is the best of both worlds. But we treat our grassland kind of like an arable farmer would treat their wheat crop. So we grow it to cut. We don't grow it to graze. So we let it go to head, especially with the equine world, because you don't want really high energy. So we let it go to head, which is the opposite of kind of what you'd want for a dairy farmer. They want all the energy in it. So we like to go to head and let it be stalky and cut it then.
So just for the viewers, I'm pretty sure I'm right when I say this, but I'm going to say it and completely go wrong here. Haylage is treat it like hay, let it dry out, and then ensile it like silage.
So it's kind of slightly higher moisture level to hay, but not as extreme as silage. So you'll ted it out like you would hay, but maybe not an extra ted to get to hay. So I'm trying to think of like dry matter. So like I guess hay would be a lot lower than haylage, but silage would be a lot lower dry matter.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm trying to think in my head which way around I'm saying it.
Silage is going to be wetter.
Yeah.
So it's going to have lower dry matter. Yeah, we're going about this a really weird way.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's the middle one, basically.
Yeah. And when you said you were the first to wrap it, what was happening before?
So there wasn't many. We kind of were the first people to trial wrapping bales. It's how I've always been told by my dad and granddad. We might not have been the first, but they said when there was the first square bale wrapper that came onto the market, we were one of the farms that trialed it. They've said it's grown a hell of a lot since then, because obviously you can imagine first try wrap bales, it just used to snap all the time, and they didn't think it was any good, but they persisted with it, and where we are now, it's just worlds apart.
For sure, yeah. And so you're waiting for them to head. How many cuts are you imagining to get out of that a year then?
2 cuts.
2.
And sometimes we take a cut at the back end, but that'll be more like silagey stuff, which will feed to the sheep at lambing time.
Right, okay.
So that the third cut won't go to horses because it just won't be right for them. And
do you sell direct to people with horses, or do you sell to companies that sell to people with horses?
So we sell directly to horses. We'll sell one bale. My dad's got a couple of Arthur Williams trailers, and he goes out delivering pretty much all day, every day. We also have like Arctics that come in from big jump yards and big race yards to take it to. So it's always handy to have a bit of both. Obviously, some people just sell the big Arctic loads, but if you don't have that Arctic come, you've got a lot of haylage sat in the yard that needs to go, and those people have one bale every week forever, like customers that you need to just keep on your side. What's the word for it? They're just loyal customers, that's the word.
Yeah, well, it's continuous business at that stage, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah.
Is there any particular lay that you're aiming for that here, or is it pretty?
So they're Italian ryegrass mixes. So it's fast growing but short lays. So we plough up those lays every 2-3 years, mostly every 2 years, and reseed because they're high yielding but for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So when you decided to go to college, you're 15, 16, did you think you saw a career in agriculture, or was it just a bit of time to get away from school?
Saying that, I was actually 17. Think about it, because I actually did a year of A levels and then left, and then I completely forgot about that when I was saying that. But I enjoyed doing the farming at home, and I was like, why don't I try it? If I'm honest, everyone on the farm was like, what, Will's going into farming? No one thought I'd ever go in on that career path. And then I just loved learning about it. I was so interested, like, especially livestock side. I read up quite a lot, which at college not many people do, but I was just that interested in livestock, and we'd never had it. And if I hadn't done that, I don't know what I'd have done with sheep. So
it's actually insane how similar your teenage years were to mine. I was again. I could just tell my neighbours were like, ag college. Like, did you send application to the wrong one, or what has happened to you? Yeah, it's funny how life goes that way, and I think it's even more of a shock when someone's from a farm and you think they're not going into it, and then they do, and you're like, why didn't you go on earlier? You know, it's So how long were you at Bishop Burton before you went on to Harper Adams?
So I was there for 2 years, and I'm not gonna lie, they was 2 of the best years of my life. I've still got like my best mates all live in Yorkshire, so it's a pain because it's 2.5 hours away, but it was just a good laugh. I lived up there because my auntie lives up near the college, so I stayed at hers at the weekends and just treated it as basically living on my own. So it's the kind of period I grew up in. It was nice to live in a different area. It's completely different. So it's near Beverley, which is quite close to York in the grand scheme of things. And just, I say it's a bigger livestock area. There's still a lot of arable, but but a bigger sheep area. Round by me, it's a big dairy area. So it's good to see a different way of life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, I found that when we're from Arran, which is heavily beef and sheep. There's dairy, but it's beef and sheep. And then went to Ayrshire, which is heavily dairy. And you know, it's good to see that difference. Because it's hard to, you think, well, what's the point in learning about this enterprise if all that's here? That, you know, it's kind of hard to grasp it. I can't look at it. How long was, so you were there for 2 years and then you were at Harper for
4 years with Harper a placement year.
Right. Okay.
So you did 2 years sandwich, like placement year, and then your final year. So I did ag with farm business management. So I was quite interested in like the business side of stuff, because obviously any farm, it's got to make money.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people say they do it for the joys, but if you don't break even, you're not going to be going for long. Yeah,
there's always
a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, there's that. Well, it's a way of life thing, and you're like, that's great if you live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and if you're purely going at it as a way of life to get by, like, you know, you live off the fact, that's a different thing. So what did that course involve then? Did you focus mainly on business management and look at some technical aspects? Or
the first year, everyone does the same ag stuff, so it's very ag based. Then the second year is slightly more business modules, so you do basically all the same ag modules and a couple more business. Then your final year is more predominantly business based, so it's all about doing farm plans and giving scenarios, and you've got to figure them out. So say you're buying a farm and you'd be acting as like a land agent for say, and you've got to be an advisor for a farmer. So you look at all in that area, what the land's like, what kind of business directions it could go in, and all the monetary. So you've got to work out exactly like how much the rent is, how much each enterprise would benefit that farm, and literally in the depths of a business plan. Like, trust me, they're like 10,000 word business plans. I'm glad I did it because I learned so much, but it was hard work.
It's never easy at the time, is it? But
No,
it's normally worthwhile. Everyone would agree if it was easy. Everyone would have it. Quite famous ag college, Harper Adams, really. Quite, the world over. It is one of those ones that sort of stands out, isn't it? When you think of the UK, I mean, I worked for SRUC, but I think when you really think of big universities, you think of Cirencester and Harper Adams. Those are the sort of two.
They're like the traditional ones, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Did you focus the year that it's sort of everyone does the same? Did you then sort of get the opportunity to focus into livestock or grass or anything like that, or?
I got the choice of the livestock module or arable. Everyone does grassland, so that wasn't. But I did predominantly livestock, and that was very lab based. I took like the more science. I think was it bioscience or ag bioscience? I took that. It's very interesting, but very. I think at uni sometimes it can be a bit too. What's the word? Academic. Do you know what I mean? It's stuff over the top. It was really interesting, but it's probably stuff that I wouldn't need to know. Yeah. But it's interesting too now.
Yeah, absolutely. And your sandwich year, did you arrange that? Where did you go to?
Yeah, so that is a long story. I went to a sheep farm in Leicestershire. They had 1,700 ewes. It's meant to be a year, but I was there 6 months and left. So it was a very, very good year. I learned a lot. And if I'm honest, I bought a lot back home. But I'm going to say I bought a lot back home from the shepherd and not the guy that owned the farm.
Okay.
That's why I left after 6 months. And I'm not going to go into it too much, but I learned a lot. But there's people you work for and people that aren't very nice. So
yeah, no, absolutely. We don't have to go into it. These things happen, unfortunately. But 1,700 is a fair good start to cut your teeth anyway.
Yeah. It was hard work. I learned so much and I enjoyed it. It was just other sides of it I didn't like. The work I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah.
They had mostly Aberfields and Aberfield crosses, so that's quite a new innovative thing. So it was cool to see them in action. And they tupped pretty much everything with Aber Black tups. So they were very innovative based. And they had an odd Hampshire tup and stuff. So for comparison, it was farmed over about 800 acres. So it was quite intensive. They had a hell of a lot of lambs on. And a lot of the lambs actually went to his brother that was a butcher and sold locally. So that's kind of given me inspiration to do it myself. So even though I maybe didn't enjoy it as much as I could have, I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, do you know, I don't know much about these sort of Innovacy, Logidurno, Primera breeds. It's quite interesting to see them appearing because breeds have always appeared, but these ones all just sort of seem similar in my head because I haven't looked into them, which is on me really. But on that, you were on that sheep farm and not coming from a sheep farm yourself. You now have that clean flock yourself. By the way, for those of you listening, clean, however we're saying it, I always say it different. It's Lleyn. It's a Welsh breed of Welsh white-faced breed. We've got some at home as well. But could you tell us, why you chose them and how you feel they're doing?
So I chose them. I started the flock about 7-8 years ago. And I was looking for a breed that was easy care because I had literally no experience with sheep. I've done a couple of lambings on farms, but obviously not done it myself, so I didn't know the ins and outs of it. So I saw easy care, something that was MV accredited, which I'd read into, and something that I could breed my own replacements from too going into the future. So I wanted to create a closed flock, and that kind of led me to the Clin. Obviously, you can go for more terminal sire breeds, but they kind of cut out the easy lambing aspects. And for myself, I wanted to learn and not be there with like 20 pedigree Texels thinking, what on earth am I doing? Because I could probably take on the pedigree Texels now. Now I've got experience and with lambing, and you know what to do in certain situations, but we haven't really got a clue. I wouldn't advise anyone going that route. You want to learn first.
That is a great tip, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
fun. It might not sound amazing, like everyone wants like these really expensive textiles, but they can cost us a lot of money if you lose them too. So
it's high risk, high reward, isn't it? And
that's it. Yeah.
If you started 7 years ago, you'd have been 18, 19, whatever, and that's sort of, you don't want to be working with big cash at that age, really.
No.
So how many did you start with?
So I started with 5 in the first year, and then the second year, me and my mum. So my mum gave me we put in some money, 50-50. I bought 10 more ewes, and I went to Ruffin sale, and I think I bought another 10.
Right.
Well, it might have been 12 or 30. It was like 2 lots of, I think we had 28, 30 ewes, and that's what I lambed the second year. And after that, the farm basically told me, you need to make it into a business. And obviously 30 ewes isn't much of a business. So my dad and granddad, we sat down and they agreed that the farm would basically take the sheep on. I would manage them, but they'd invest quite a lot into them. So I went up to Charles Geldard and John Geldard. I don't know if you heard of them. John's he's the president of the NSA at the moment, or he was last year.
Right, okay.
They're quite well-known clean breeders. And he let me go and pick 50 ewe lambs up there. And we also went to sales and bought another 20, 30 shearlings. So kind of got up to lambed 80, but also had my own replacement. So next year, 150. That might be a bit confusing, but then we kind of consolidated for a year with 150. And then this year I kept 100 ewe lambs back. So minus culls. Next year, hopefully up to 220, 230, and keep growing.
It's a quick growth, that is.
Yeah. That's why I always tell young farmers, if you want something that's cheaper to invest in, go for sheep, because it can soon grow. If you think like gestation periods and everything, obviously you get 1-2 lambs a year, where with beef, it's more 18 months, or do you know what I mean? And if you lose one, it's less of a loss. And I just think sheep are a great investment for someone that wants to get into farming too.
Again, looking at that risk way, it's a good way to kick off. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it might cost to get in at the minute, but you know, if you start with 3 or 4, we had a good podcast. I think it was number 29, where with Ross Pattinson, who you may or may have heard of, but he basically started from, as a 14-year-old, having 5 pet lambs that he took off a neighbouring farm in the garden, and now he's got a full farm. Like it's not the easiest thing to get into farming, but there is ways and means. We've always had that help there. But that's pretty quick. It's good going. How long do you think you can keep increasing numbers for?
Currently, the numbers are roughly 300, because they're actually all on the rented land, but we're looking to do a lot more electric fencing at home, which is actually a lot more high quality grass. Now I'm back from uni full time, so it's under negotiation. that we basically will grow the flock until it impacts the grass, because at the end of the day, the grass is the main enterprise on the farm. But the sheep are a great management tool for the grass, so they work hand in hand. And it's getting them as big as possible without impacting the other side of the business.
Yes, that makes sense. Was the reason you chose them because of the sort of with the terminal sires, you're going to have the problems and the bit extra money? So you chose them because they're a bit cheaper, and sort of less issues and easier to manage from a distance, if you will. That sort of easy care, like you were saying. No, that makes sense.
Basically, there's so many different reasons, and I'm now growing. I'm now on the promotions committee of the society. So through doing like the YouTube and stuff, I help them out with like suggestions and a bit more modern thinking, not being like critical or anything. But Yeah, I've got quite involved, and I'm involved on the committee of our Midlands group too. So I like getting involved with that kind of stuff to, if I can help in any way or give a different opinion on something that's a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes a sort of a young mind to look at marketing and stuff's quite good, because that, that it's a totally different marketing model, doesn't it? It really is. That worlds apart. You're saying two lambs a year. Is that what you're getting, or are you getting higher than that? Because it can be pretty prolific, queens.
So this year I scanned at 186.
Right.
I get used at, this year I've had one quad, but last year I had 5 quads out of 150. So it's a flock's getting older. So you find obviously as the ewes get older, they scan higher, and next year they'll probably be the most similar age they'll be for the rest of my life, because there's like a group of shearlings coming through where I had 85 shearlings coming through at once, where this year there'll be second crop of lambs. Yes. Next year there'll be third crop. So I think last year I scanned at 179, and I do lamb early, so I put it down to that too, but also quite a young flock. And usually, obviously, shearlings will scan lower than something having its fourth crop of lambs.
Yeah, no, they I mean, because sometimes when you're looking at flushing and stuff like that, they almost advise against it with pure queens.
Yeah, I flushed the first year I had them, and I wish I haven't done it since because of that. It's the highest I've ever scanned the year I flushed, but I also lambed later. I bought lambing back because of uni and stuff, and selling new lambs later in the year, if they're a bit bigger and stuff like that, you get to learn in the pedigree game. You've got to lamb a bit earlier.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn. I mean, I've not done it. Kudos to folk that have, just jumping in, going for it. It's class. You mentioned you're MV accredited. Could you tell us a bit about what that is?
So MV is a disease medivisner. We have to blood test for it biannually, and it's basically a wasting disease or disorder. Probably not the best way to say it, but basically it's a bit like Lleyns and cattle. If they get it, you probably won't notice it when they're younger. When they're older, they'll turn to like skin and bones when they're only 4 or 5 years old, rather than a normal age you would waste. And basically it cuts production back and it spreads fairly quickly. So becoming a closed flock that's MV accredited, it cuts that risk down.
No, absolutely.
I'm not going to slag off like other breeds, but obviously I find that's why I didn't go the mule route, because I thought they're a great sheep. I'm not going to say they're not a great sheep, but I think you can't really breed your own replacements unless you cross them, and they're a lot higher risk, higher disease risk. Mm-hmm. So that kind of put me clins rather than mules. And a lot of people say the opposite, but that's just my opinion.
It's just going to be whoever's got what is going to
exactly.
Say, there's no point in having that argument, because folk will look at both sides.
That's spot
on. For those of you listening that go to shows and such, like, if you've ever looked closely at sheep showing, there's sometimes a show happening with a main ring and a wee ring at the side. Now, that wee ring at the side might be getting bigger, but that wee ring at the side is normally for accredited. And certainly what we do up here, there's less people are MV accredited than are. It's sort of more common to not be as growing. That's sort of what's happening there. So what Will's talking about there. Breed Society work, Will, is that, you get quite a lot out of that, or is that just sort of involved, or,
Before the dreaded COVID, I was quite involved with the Midlands group, so we were quite involved at the 3 counties show and stuff like that. I showed sheep, so I showed them at Lincolnshire, Yorkshire, Staffordshire, Burwarton. I tried to cut it down to like 4 or 5 year olds. She's just not at the farm. And then they asked me to go on to the National Promotions Committee, having worked in marketing as well as the YouTube. So it's just, I guess, someone with a background knowledge that they can ask questions that someone might not know much about.
Yeah, absolutely. And away from not away from the farming side, 'cause it's still farming, but away from the you being working,
Yeah.
pardon, you sort of working on the ground with the stock. You work for DataMars,
Yeah.
which first off sounds like it sounds like a proper spacey based company.
Yeah.
What is DataMars or KiwiKit? I always forget their name. What do they do?
So DataMars are like a parent company. So they are based in Switzerland off the top of my head. I might be wrong there. I feel really bad if I'm wrong. But they predominantly do like microchips. So they do like most cats and dogs in this country. I think there's a funny stat like 3/4 of microchips are produced from DataMars. I might be wrong. It might be like a half or so, like a high proportion of microchips are from DataMars. But they also have bought out quite a lot of companies over here in the UK and over in New Zealand, America. So they're more probably known as DataMars Livestock, which own like R2Kast, they own KiwiKit, Roxanne Tags, Pell Electric Fencing, Hayes Fencing. They've kind of consumed quite a lot, but no one's heard of DataMars. You'll have heard of KiwiKit that sell a lot of those brands, and then Roxanne Tags too. So they're huge. I didn't realize how big they were when I accepted the job. I thought I was having a job with Roxanne, then realized about KiwiKit, then DataMars. Like my first week, I was like, this company's like I'm doing marketing for like Europe social media. So New Zealand have someone that does my job, so in America and Australia. I don't do a lot for like France, Italy, Spain, but if they ask for my help, I'll do posts and stuff. Predominantly it's UK, but we do it's so hard to describe how big it is.
It's funny. The biggest companies are the ones you've never heard of.
Well, yeah.
Not the biggest, but we've all heard of Amazon and such like.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, you can probably tell, I'm looking at something here. I'm trying to find a post on KiwiKit that you put up. It was about the week you and I first met when we were on Cammy's podcast. And I remember thinking, this company seems pretty big to be posting memes. But it was, I can't remember what it was, but I would go and follow it because I can't find it. It's quite funny, some of the stuff you put up. And then I found out that was you that was involved in that. How does that work? Because we both do social media things. But everything I do doesn't impact anyone apart from me. Everything you do doesn't impact anyone apart from me. But when you're in charge of something like that, it must just not be, oh, well, you run the Facebook page. Or is it like that?
Kind of. Like 90% of the time, but then I'll work with like the sales team of what they want to promote at certain times of the year. And then obviously there's a marketing department and we have campaigns that run. So at the moment it's a spring calving campaign and they'll run into like a lambing campaign. So advertising wise, you kind of try to stick to the campaigns and products that sell at that time of year. At the same time, you try and create a social media presence, which isn't just trying to sell stuff, which is where like the memes and stuff come in. So at the end of the day, no one just wants to see sales pictures.
No.
You follow an account because you find it interesting. And that's where I like work with brand ambassadors and they give me content that maybe isn't technical, but it's something fun to read and a bit different.
Yes. It's one of your main ones, not, is it the Dairy Daughter? Amy?
Yes, Amy Eggleston. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. I mean, she's huge on Instagram, isn't she?
Yeah, she's
7,000,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
sorry?
So you've probably heard of Ali Hill.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I won't just shout everyone out, but there's quite a few that people have heard of. I won't name them all because I'll be here.
I've got the right person. Ali Hill, a hill farmer.
Yeah,
I think that is the best name.
Because Cammy shouted him out the other week. I was like, everyone just seems to know everyone there. Like there's connections everywhere.
Huge. I mean, I've spoken about this last week, I spoke about this the week before on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, there's such an excellent, my mum pointed out to me one day, such an excellent online ag community.
Mm.
You know, from, you find you, I mean, I've spoken to Graham Parker, who's got more than 1 million subs. And, you know, you and I are mates with Cami, who's huge, and different people are doing their different things, and it's class. I love it. I honestly love it.
And it's so nice how, like, people like Cami will give me tips. Like, a lot of people are very approachable, and if you ask them, they'll help you out. Like, when I started, I used to ask people, like, what camera do I buy? Yeah. Because I had no idea. Like, if you haven't done it, you have no idea.
And you've no reason to know.
No, exactly.
But you're right. It's, I assume in a lot of things, big people as in sort of reach-wise, don't have to help. But everyone's just willing to give you. I mean, we really need not be nice about Cami because his head will get bigger than it already is. But also you create this excellent sort of friend network of people you've never met. Yourself, Carol, I've met Cami, but you know, like these people you've never met. And a Highland show is going to be fun.
I'm definitely there. I was checking what shows I'm going to. I'm actually not going to Balmoral, but I'm at the Highland show, so I'm definitely there.
No, I'll be at the Highland as well. Whether it's for work or not or both, I'll be there. This, I mean, when does this come out? It won't be far until the Highland show. No, a month or two until those sidetracked a bit, but these shows and stuff this year are going to be brilliant. Like just seeing everyone.
It's all been like lockdown for 2 years. I was lucky because I went to Yorkshire and Staff show last year, but literally they were the only shows that were on.
Yeah.
None of the other shows, like the little ones where everyone goes that knows each other from that local area, or the Welsh and the Highland, they're going to be mental.
Oh, it is. It's going to be good crack, and it's so needed. I remember it was at this time last year that they decided the Highland wasn't happening last year, and I remember thinking, oh right, that's them make the decision. Highland will be on this year. Bang, it's not happening. Okay, it's happening. The showcase, which they did a great job with.
Yeah.
It's not the same. No, it'll be good to see everyone.
I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry.
The Winter Olympics is either currently on or just finished. I can't remember. And people the world over are winning medals. Scotland won. The guys won silver in the curling. And the girls won gold. But talking about the silver, because we have a medalist here as well. Not an Olympic medalist, but a British Farming Awards medalist. Which is really cool. British Farming Awards, I'll be honest, wasn't something I was aware of until Tom Pemberton won gold and the one you got silver at.
That's it. Which is mad to think. Everyone says that. I'm like, I've got an award that Tom Pemberton won. I'm like, it still hasn't sunk in, because I'm like, I've got 2,800 subscribers and he's got like 400,000 or way more than that. Or it's mad.
I don't think you're far off. I think it's something like that. Yeah. Well, how does, maybe tell us a bit about what that award is, and how did you come forward for it?
So it's Digital Innovator of the Year. The awards run by the Farmer's Guardian, and my girlfriend's stepdad put me forward without me knowing. So I got a random phone call one day saying, hello, is this Will? I was like, yeah. He says, it was a woman, not he. I've got some good news for you, but you've been shortlisted for Digital Innovator of the Year. I was like, are you sure you got the right person? Are you Will Roobottom? I was like, yeah. Michael McNellis put you forward. I was like, no way. I was like, how? Like the British Farming Awards, like I like seeing it on TV and stuff on some of these, like this, not This Farming Life, like that similar program. Surely not. And I was like, it was just mad. And then we went to the night, and I was like, I'm up against people like Zoe, is it Colville, the Chief Shepherdess?
Chief Shepherdess, yeah.
The Ethical Butcher, and this is bad, I can't remember the other person, but there's 4 of us in the category, and I was like, what? I'm the smallest person. Don't expect anything. Just have a good night. We got there. We got on the Peronis. It was just, but actually, when we got there, I was doing a vlog, and as we got out the minibus, I said, "Oh, it's a Lamborghini. Imagine Jeremy Clarkson's here." And he walks out the car, and I'm like, "No way."
Oh, really?
Yeah, Clarkson was there filming for Amazon. Yeah. So I don't know. We might be in the back shot of that, but you never know.
Did you speak to him?
No, I spoke to Caleb.
What's he like?
He's all right.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Everyone was like fangirling him. That was the problem. Like, I can understand like someone like that maybe put off events like that, because literally he was just getting like surrounded all night, and I felt for him a bit.
It can't be easy. I mean, the guy openly talks about the fact he doesn't really like leaving Chipping Norton.
No.
You know, and there's people like that they live their whole life in one place and they're perfectly happy and live their life that way. I worry about him actually because of that reason. You know,
it's like gone from a very quiet person to someone that everyone knows.
Everyone. I mean, I remember watching Clarkson's Farm the first time and thinking, you know, I think what all farmers thought, this can go really well or really bad for farming.
Yeah.
And we're probably thinking this is going to go really bad for farming, which it didn't. But I remember seeing Caleb Cooper contracting, followed it on Facebook, and then followed him on Instagram. And I think he was sitting at like 12,000.
Yeah.
Well over 1 million now. Like, I mean, that's,
it's mad.
Like, yeah, fair play to him, and I hope it goes well for him. But I do want it. It's not what he really wanted. But anyway, that's not the reason we're chatting. But so when was the awards? Well,
it was last October. Then when I was at the table, we're on about when we got it, and then they do the silver, then the gold goes up to the stage to save time. Right. Then literally there's Vernon K presenting it, and then they're going through all the awards, and then getting nervous and more nervous because yours is coming up. And then they got onto it, and then they did the 4, explained a bit about everyone, and then on screen said, we'd like to award the silver award to, and he was like, Will Roobottom. I was like, Vernon K just read my name out, and then the guy came over with the award. I was just like, it's like disbelief, because you never think it'll happen to you.
Yes. Yeah, and I think we're all pretty bad for being over modest. You know, like, you said I'm the smallest. And, you know, it's not biggest following of the year award. It's digital innovator, and then that's you weren't solely a YouTuber. You were also working in data, which is also part of it. Who won out of interest?
The Ethical Butcher.
So is that Glenn Burrows and I forgot another guy's name. The reason I say that is if you're listening and you're wondering who the Ethical Butcher is, R2Kast #1. They were where the podcast started.
It was, I can't pronounce his name. Oh, there's 2 of them. There's 2, isn't
Glenn Burrows, and there's a guy who's, I would say, of Indian origin name.
Yeah.
You know, that's maybe a generalization, but I'm sure it begins with F. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, brilliant. Excellent. Quite a day. Did someone called Emma Victoria Hudson win that night? Win second on the veg side of things?
Is that what's the name? Yeah,
Princess Cabbage.
That's it. Yeah, I spoke because as you do, the chief shepherdess created like a group chat before it, so everyone got to know each other. Because I don't know if you know AK, the rainbow farmer.
I don't actually.
So you can follow him. He was there. He's really good. So he's done all farming on his own. There's quite a few people.
There's loads of folk out there. It's brilliant. No, I've never seen it before. I mean, I've spoke to Zoe trying to get her on the podcast. Emma's coming on the podcast. Ethical Butcher's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
You've been on the podcast. I'm just basically going through the farming award winners. Do you know, I've never considered it. It's probably a good thing. It's probably a page that says all the winners. Just go
there is. Yeah.
Pick them off. Maybe I'll win a British Farming Award for a person that knows the most British Farming Award winners. You know, no, and what we've talked about put forward for an award, regarding digital innovation, and came out second, which is brilliant. Yeah. Now, I think you were maybe up against it in the fact that I believe that year was the year Ethical Butcher basically ruined Veganuary. Veganuary was huge.
Yeah.
And it really was massive. And they sort of looked at, well, no, it's not the right thing to do. And they, I mean, when Glenn talked about it, it was millions and millions of views they were getting on these posts. Yeah. So maybe it was quite an upward battle for you.
Yeah. I was saying that if I was up against Tom Pemberton, there's great people every year. So
that's it. Exactly. And it's cool to sort of be remembered as one of them.
Yeah.
But the YouTube channel, you mentioned a bit about starting vlogging, but was there ever any intentions with it, or was it just, this is fun, I'm going to show folk?
I'm going to mention it again, but I used to watch Tom Pemberton, and I was like, no one does sheep. Obviously, there's Cammy now and Sandy Brock and people like that. But when I was watching it, I'd never found Cammy. I was like, someone needs to do this for sheep. And then I started the Instagram, and I was like, well, I'm getting quite a lot of like traction, like people are engaging with what I'm doing. And I was like, I'll just have a go. And that's what I did. So I went to Argos and bought a GoPro, had no microphone or anything, which you learn you need because the GoPros haven't got very good mics. And just started vlogging. The first one, I've watched it back and it's awful.
I'm gonna have to
I think that's the same with everyone. It was just me in a field. I recorded it about 50 times of me saying this 30-second clip of what the flock was at home. And like from there to now, I could just talk on the GoPro for like 5 minutes and not think about it. But then it took me an hour to record about 30 seconds. I was like, I can't do this. I wasted too much time.
You've just explained everyone's first attempt at it.
Yeah.
That is spot on. I mean, I didn't do YouTube. I don't do YouTube, but I post on YouTube. You know what I mean? The first video I put on R2K was me talking about the stratification system.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so here on the farm with the farm, and then like 2 seconds later, right, the camera's down here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, on the farm. Oh, geez, right, no, on.
That's literally it.
And for those of you starting out in YouTube and stuff, Will has just pinpointed the most important part. Do not do what everyone does and go out and get an expensive camera and forget a mic. Get a good mic and an okay camera. It's so much more important, and work up. Some of the videos,
even if you use your phone and a decent mic.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was speaking to Cammy about it. I've got that's probably have to cover the photo there. I've got iPhone 13 Pro Max, and I was saying to him, I was like, look, if I'm getting into vlogging and doing stuff for the BBC, what's the best camera? And he's like, that one. It can't be beaten. There's there's no comparison.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, really, when you think about it. You think, it's got to be a GoPro or some kind of Nick. Yeah. Really, it's really not the case. But yeah, you're sitting at 2,800. Was there any certain time that it started to grow quicker, or has it just been sort of steady as you
go? I've had times where like people shouted me out. So guy called Nick's Farm, I talked to him a little bit. He shouted me out and I got like 300 in a day, which was mad. But most recently, really, it's grown really quick over lambing. So I've done lambing vlogs every day for the last 3 weeks, and I've got about 400 new subscribers in 2-3 weeks. So it shows us the interest there. It's just, I know with YouTube, there's algorithms and all sorts. It's just getting the right title, the right thumbnail, and suddenly you get a video that goes boom. Like my most popular video is me showing people around the new Ivan Williams trailer. And that's obviously because people search on Google the exact search term that I put, and it's got like 7,000-8,000 views, which for some people isn't a lot, but for myself, it was one of my original videos and it's got loads of views.
It's the whole title thing is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I had Kevin Harrison, who you may or may not know is, you mentioned one of the clean guys was the NSA chairman. Kevin Harrison was either before him or after him. I don't know, but I had him on because he was on Clarkson's farm.
Yeah.
He was the guy. And now, don't be wrong, Kevin's story is one of the most interesting I've had on the podcast, but I don't think many folk are YouTubing Kevin Harrison. Yeah. Sorry, Kevin, if you're listening and thinking that you're a guru on YouTube, I do apologise. But I put Kevin Harrison of Clarkson's farm and I blew up. Podcast, 700 views. That's good on a podcast. And you see Cammy and yourself and Carol and Joanne and all that talking in that group chat. Like, what was it? Cammy they did the thing with Gareth Wynne-Jones, and it was like, that's what it was. Gareth Wynne-Jones to us is famous, right? 90,000 followers on Facebook. He's big on TikTok, big on everything. He's pushing for 10,000 on YouTube by the end of the year when he doesn't even do YouTube. But nobody cares about Gareth Wynne-Jones in the grand scheme of things. So instead of saying gathering on Gareth Wynne-Jones's farm, he changed it once it was already out to gathering on a hill farm, and he saw it shoot up. It's like, it's a science in itself, and I mean, it's your job literally, so you'll be doing a lot with it. That's actually a point for DataMars. Do you do videos, or is it more posting and
more posting on social media? But moving forwards, we do want to do videos. What's held me back before was COVID, really, but I want to get out on farms as well as for my own channel. That's one thing I'm really keen to do, is go and visit some different farms, not necessarily sheep farms, go and meet some farmers, and maybe, like you do with the podcast, do one video a month where I go and meet someone in a completely different system, in a bit different of a video, rather than just my farm, my farm, my farm. But that's the same with work. They want to, with their ambassadors and stuff, go onto farms and do videos with them. That it's one of the reasons I got the job, but I haven't been able to do it yet because of circumstances.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because you would think, like, take the Hoof GP, right? He is the biggest farming YouTuber in the world now. If you class it as farming, fair enough. If you don't, but he has tried on a couple of occasions to sort of go from the norm and let's show people something different. It just does not work. So for Cammy it works because he's different. For you it would work different. But for Graham, his sort of whole
it's literally just I'm going trimming.
And people just buy into that. ASMR. I looked into sort of ASMR stands for autonomous sensory resonance response and sensory response. Sorry, and sort of that constant. It's almost like a hormone boost. Is so interesting, and folk TikTok and YouTuber, some people are just making a killing off it. But I think that going to other farms and stuff would be really cool. I mean, I'd love to sort of make this so I could have people here talking to me. I mean, this is fun, but it's not.
I know what you mean. It's different. It's not like when you're together. It's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah. Joe Rogan, if you're looking for competition, I'm coming for you. It's cool. The whole there's so many opportunities out there on YouTube, and sometimes it's just try, put the most ridiculously stupid thing up and bang. That seems to be it. You mentioned the Funky Farmer early on. One of the things he said, if you look up Funky Farmer, he's got one video with 20 million views. Right now, I don't know how much you look into analytics and stuff like that, but I watched the Sidemen, who you may or may not know. And one of them only just hit 10 mil on 10 mil views on one video last year, and they're huge. Like and that was Zerker, who's one of the smaller ones, but still. And the reason Richard had this is it's just he has like a sort of proper old school buyer parlor, right? And his analytics show about 60% of people in India were looking that up, and it's blown up to 20 million. Mad, like. And now, whether that's monetized or not, if it is, he'll be doing
That's not bad, is it?
No, not at all. Maybe you don't want to answer this, and if you don't, I can cut it out. But are your videos monetized? Are you at the stage that happens? Is it 1,000 subs?
My videos are monetized. I've been monetized for about 8-9 months. So I think it's 4,000 watch hours, but you see him as soon as you hit that, it grows loads. So I think I've just hit 20,000 watch hours But I think that's just YouTube in general. It kind of grows and grows and grows and gets bigger slowly unless someone shouts you out and then you goes boom. Do you know what I mean? And then
is that 4,000 watch hours total or 4,000 watch hours in the last?
Oh, so it's in the last 12 months that you need to be monetized for. And I think I'm at about 21 now.
Right.
I've got a lot of watch hours from the last month, if I'm honest.
No, brilliant. And it's, I mean, Lamb sells.
Yeah.
Lamb sells well.
You're right.
But a lot of work. I mean, you're putting one a day out. How long are you editing for?
Between 1 and 3 hours for these. So my normal videos I probably do a bit more. But I find if you do it too much and spend too much, it doesn't make too much difference.
Yeah.
If you get it cut right, and sometimes the more rustic videos do better because it's more realistic rather than a picturesque, perfectly edited video. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And what sort of time of videos are you looking for? If you got a target?
Time.
Yeah, like duration.
So I used to aim for like 8-12 minutes. With these lambing ones, they've been a lot longer because I seem to have filmed more in a day than I would normally. So these have been like 10 to 18 minutes long. Depends how much has happened in the day. Because I wanted to show it all because I feel like if you cut it out, people are like, what happened to that lamb from yesterday? And you kind of have to give updates too as you go.
Oh, people get invested. People are.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Do you film everything? Are you just a camera on 24/7 or?
I'll have it on for like 2 hours and then I'll put it down for like 3 hours and carry on. When I'm out in the field doing a normal video, I tend to have it on all the time.
Yeah.
Or say I'm drenching ewes, I might just like video a batch of 20 and get on with the job and then do a bit more. But kind of try and find what works and is most efficient because I don't want to waste loads of time filming. That's the worst thing. Like at the end of the day, you're working, so you don't want to like waste loads of time.
And it's funny when you won't quite be at this stage, but I know we've spoken about Cammy a few times throughout. Cammy's at this stage where he's at the stage to take time away from his actual job to film.
Yeah.
And it'll be weird when, if you continue to that stage, you get there. Instead of your dad being like, right, come on, Will, you know. Actually, Dad, we're writing a hell of a lot more doing this, you know. It's a fantastically interesting diversification going into YouTube. I have a lot of people on that have been let's even say social media. You know, it's brilliant. Diversification's a big thing with Brexit and whatever that might be. And it's not one that jumps out at you, but it's arguably the most successful.
I never even thought about it as a diversification, to be fair.
Yeah.
Until I was just like, it definitely is, but I never thought about it like that, if I'm honest. But now, earning money from it, like, I don't earn loads. Before this month, I earned like £60-70 a month, which isn't a lot of money, but this month it's like double or triple. But that's because there's a lot more videos, and it's just see where it goes. If I'd love to be able to do it, spend more time on it, but at the end of the day, I've got a mortgage and stuff like that. I couldn't just give up my proper job to do it and risk everything. It has to be risk reward. 60 quid a month, and now for this busy month, 100 or 200. That's extra money that you wouldn't be getting. And, exactly.
And just for comparison, probably be the last time I'll mention them in this podcast, but I asked Cammy quite vaguely about a year ago now, because I was just going to have him on the podcast, and I think he was in May, so maybe not quite a year ago, and £64 was what he had made that month. So keep at it a year, you know where you'll be.
That's what I mean. Like, he's kind of someone that gets you motivated because you're like, I can do that. And I've seen how good his videos have got, like, over time. I watched some of his original videos, and it's the same with myself. You see them improve. Just by doing more and more, you improve.
It's the easiest way to get better at something. I mean, I don't edit videos to any high quality at all, but I remember the first time I'm like, right, I've got to make a video, and I just did it on on my iPad, LumaFusion, and I'm like, there's so many buttons I'm never going to manage.
No.
If you're out there and you're looking to get into video editing or creating videos, or whatever, honestly, there is no better way than just go for it. I don't even watch YouTube tutorials. Have a play. It's the easiest way. But no, good on you, and it'll be interesting to see a year from now, sort of where you're sitting, because it is that first 2,000-3,000 is the hard one. And then, you know, Sandy Brock might see one of your videos, and then bang, you know, I mean, she's the queen in the sheep side, isn't she? Really?
Oh yeah, she's over 500,000, I think.
Is she now? Yeah. And that's the thing. I thought she was at like 320. You know, because I saw like 2 months ago, and what's probably happened is she has jumped up.
Yeah,
it's a strange old game, but good on you for jumping into it, and I commend you for the time you put in. Hey, listen, well, that's been great. We've spoke for, I'm pretty sure, an hour. It's been good to chat. There's always 2 questions that we finish every podcast with. You've said you've listened to some of the podcasts. Have you listened to the end and know the questions? They are, 1, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So what do you see yourself doing at 30? What a horrible thought as a 25-year-old that we're being. Oh, it's disgusting. And also, if you had any tips for folk coming into farming, you gave wow, words are not happening for me today. You gave a great tip earlier about sort of, instead of just jumping in with a famous terminal sire and leading to some problems because you don't know, that's the only reason. Trying something like cleans, I thought that was brilliant. Maybe you've got some other ones, but they're the 2 questions. What do you think?
I'll start with a second one, just going off of that, and that is, although I said start cheaper, buy quality, not quantity. So it might buy what you can afford, but buy, say you could afford 10 but 5 decent ones, buy 5 decent ones, because in 10 years time you'll be 10 years ahead, because you started with much better quality stock or machinery or whatever that is. That's one thing I always tell people. Another thing is just have a go, because you'll never learn if you don't have a go. And ask questions. People are really scared of asking questions, and sometimes if you just ask someone, they'll give you an answer that you were too afraid to ask. Or like, don't be afraid to ring the vet if you've got a problem, even if it's something that's stupid. Ask, because it'll solve so many questions that you have.
Or like we've done, get yourself a friend like Kaz, who's just on the WhatsApp.
yeah.
Just when you say buy quality, I was just expecting you to sort of drop in, you know, quality such as the Cowley Hill farm, you know. Yeah, no, good stuff. And where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you think you'll be doing then?
5 years time, it's very dependent on how the YouTube and stuff goes. There's like 2 options. One, I'd like to be a lot higher up, more involved at DataMars. Or the other route is a lot more heavily involved at home. But the home option kind of relies on YouTube creating me an earning, because at home at the moment there's 3 generations. Obviously, a family farm can't pay that many staff a decent wage to pay a mortgage, and I'm not going to make myself or the farm reliant on me, and I don't want to ruin a business just because I want to go back to the family farm.
Yes.
So the YouTube could be a make or break. So if loads of people are nice to subscribe, it might help me in that direction. But there's kind of 2 paths. I love the marketing, I love the farming, and whichever one happens, it happens, and everything happens for a reason. So whichever way it goes, I'll be happy. But I'd always love to come back home, but it doesn't always work like that. It may be a longer term thing. So like going on to the 30 years, maybe at 50, I may be back home. But it's such a long thing to look at 30 years time. I'd love to.
It's impossible, actually.
Yeah. I'd love to be in my dad's shoes, but I don't know if I could run. I'd much rather it be more livestock based, because I love the haylage and it makes money. I'd still do it, but it's more the delivery side and stuff. yeah, I'd have to employ someone because it takes that much time and I won't be able to do a sheep. And the sheep's where my passion is. So it's kind of, it's a business, and the sheep probably doesn't make as much money as the haylage. So it's all these, like when I was at uni, it's doing like cost benefit analysis. So you put them out both on both sides. And if I'm honest, the haylage will win every day of the week, but I love sheep. So
that's the thing. It wins every day in the week purely on that cost benefit analysis, but you've got to sort of somehow put a tangible worth on that I love sheep comment, which is a massive part of it, you know.
Yeah.
If you're at the stage, you're 30, you can afford that mortgage, you and your partner are happy, you might have kids, they're happy, all that sort of thing, then yeah, that's got to be what matters, really, isn't it? And if delivering hay and haylage could be really good for vlogging,
yeah,
you've got to consider that as well.
There's I'd love to get people involved. I've probably got to the confidence level now where I would talk to people on camera. Maybe a year ago I wouldn't have, but I've now got the confidence where I have other people on. Like even my mate came down to the shed the other day. He stores a trailer at the farm. And so I'll come hold of you, and I'm chatting to him on camera where before I don't know why I'd be embarrassed, but I think it's just gaining confidence with the camera with other people.
I think the biggest part of that is you feel like, I hope they don't think I'm putting them out.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a personal thing. I think it's like, I hope they're comfortable. I hope they're not just saying yes because I'm, you know, it's a hard one, that. And yeah, I mean, a lot of them just constantly have folk in them. And some YouTubers won't do it at all. You know, it's an instant balance. But I think the farming one's a good one. Like, you know, if you're at someone's farm that's also on the platform, everyone would be happy to see that. Oh my God, the crossover, you know, folk love that. So, you know, if you need a massive guy on the Facebook side of things, I can always pop in.
No, I'd love to go and visit people and like do collaborations and stuff, because I think people love seeing two different channels, then they mix and they love to see how they work together and all that side of it. It works really well because it benefits both people. Also, I think it makes a good video too.
It does, because it's two people that are doing that well. Yeah. And it's good. Well, I look forward to the will goes out to Sandy Brock's barn. I could listen to her say barn forever. Barn in the barn. Oh, what a fantastic accent the Canadians have. Well, I think she's actually maybe taking not a break from YouTube, but I think her daughter was a bit ill there for a while.
Yeah, I watched some of it. I try and watch like everyone, but you can't. So you miss stuff.
I openly admitted to you yesterday, I watch nothing. Embarrassingly, I mean, sometimes I'll be lying in bed and I'll just randomly put a YouTube video on, but I'm so bad for watching nothing. My dad is. He's probably seen every single one of your videos. You know, he doesn't miss a YouTube video.
No, that's mad.
That's mad. Yeah, he loves the whole farming side of things. Yeah. He'll be watching this. He'll be watching vlogs and stuff. But maybe if he hasn't seen you, you'll have a new subscriber from now on, which will actually be me, because he won't make a Google account and he just subscribes on mine. Yeah. No, here, listen, it's been good to chat. I spoke to you once before, Will, and sort of spoke for the last 6 months over text, but it's nice to actually sit down and have a chat sometimes. And for those of you listening, let me not even try and pretend that I'm remembering this, because I can't. We'll see you next week for Emma that I mentioned earlier, Princess Cabbage. Sorry, Will, not throwing you under the bus here, but hands down, the best name on any platform ever is Princess Cabbage. So Emma is a veg farmer. She won at the British Farming Awards. I can't remember what place or what, but she was there as well. So another young farmer that has been award winning in the last couple of years through a COVID weird lifestyle. So we'll see you then for R2Kast number 39.
Well, that's it. Another R2Kast finished, another agricultural mind opened up. And I would just like to say that getting these guests on board, it does take time, and it always has done, but I've now went weekly, and with that comes even more time required. And I would just like to finally thank once more the Scottish Farmer for sponsoring the show and making that much more possible. Please be sure to get in touch if you've any ideas of people you'd like to see on the podcast, or maybe ideas you have for me presenting better, because I definitely do require that. See you in the next one.